distinguished panel with us. We have Mr. D.K. Sharaf, who is the chairman of PNGRB, and also we have Mr. A.K. Jana, who is MD of IGL. We have Dr. D.K. Agrawal, president of PhD Chamber. So to start the program, I will request Dr. D.K. Agrawal, president of PhD Chamber, to give the presidential address to start the program for today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjit Mehta. Good morning, all. First of all, on behalf of PhD Chamber of Commerce, I extend a very warm welcome to our chief guest of the day, Shri D.K. Sharaf, Chairman, Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. I also welcome Mr. A.K. Jana, Managing Director, Indraprastha Gas Limited, Mr. Rajiv Mathur, Chairman of our Hydrocarbon Committee of PhD Chamber, Mr. Pawan Tibrewala, Co-Chairman, Hydrocarbon Committee, PhD Chamber, members of the Managing Committee, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Ranjit Mehta, Principal Director, PhD Chamber of Commerce, other distinguished participants, colleagues from the industry, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome again to today's webinar, which is on City Gas Distribution 2020, Challenges and Opportunities. I think, as Dr. Ranjit Mehta pointed out, that India is moving towards gas-based economy. We are the world's third largest energy consumer. And there is a projection that says in next 10 to 15 years, we would become the #1 energy user of the world. So as of now, our gas use as a part of the energy mix is around 6%, whereas the world average is 24%. So the government aims to make it around 15% by 2030. And this gas demand is expected to be coming from steel sector, fertilizer sector, power sector, and most importantly from the city gas distribution segment. I think there has been a very huge push, unprecedented push to increase this CGD, the city gas distribution segment. And after the 10th round of this CGD bidding, almost more than 70% of our population would get covered, and almost 50% of our geographical area that would get covered. Even Dharmendra Pradhan ji, who is Honorable Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, has said that government is working to build CGD network in more than 400 districts, which again would mean that almost 72% of the population would get covered, and almost 50% of the geographical areas would be covered. Even our Mr. D.K. Sharaf, Chairman of this PNGRB, even he has said, and he has authorized 230 places for this, I think, which would meet the requirement of covering at least 72% of the population. So that's a great job being done by this PNGRB also. The government has talked of spending almost 5 lakh crore rupees in creating the gas infrastructure, on the exploration, on distribution, on marketing, on laying of the pipeline. So I think it's a huge amount which is going to be spent on this gas-based economy's infra. Even the gas grid presently, which is around 17,000 kilometers, Dharmendra Pradhan ji has said that this will be increased to almost 32,000 kilometers in coming years. And to make sure that this gas is available, long-term contracts are being entered into. And not only with particular countries, even the portfolio has been diversified significantly. Having said all this, this industry is facing a lot of challenges. And one of the biggest issue which has been coming is that, after this introduction of GST regime, industry is getting input credit most of the industries are getting input credit on their purchases. But in case of these petroleum products, and particularly even this city gas distribution, since that is a subject, so there is a feeling that it should be also covered under GST, so that the input credit can be availed by the producers, which will ultimately benefit the consumer. Secondly, this pipeline infra, there are different pipelines, and if gas has to travel from South India to say any part of North India, so there are different contracts which one has to enter, and let us say there are three pipelines, and there would be three separate contracts, and then the overall cost to the consumer comes to be very high, very high. Though I believe that our chairman would definitely talk about it. He has talked about creating a pipeline tariff, new pipeline tariff policy, which I'm sure going to solve this problem. And once we have this a unified pipeline policy being announced and implemented, I think this pipeline tariff issue, which is affecting the industry, would get resolved. Also, the land availability and absence of qualified vendors is also some of the concerns being expressed by the industry. It must be also noted that India imports both crude oil as well as LNG. And, we are importing both, so it still leaves a lot of vulnerability of India to the volatilities in this particular petroleum sector volatility, in price volatility. So at the end of the day, we have to focus on the mainstream exploration, which somehow has skipped the due attention which it requires. So of course, as a regulator, I would also, we would like to hear from you what Indian government is doing to make sure that we also spend a lot of money on the exploration and ultimately our self-dependence. Now we say Atmanirbhar Bharat. So even we have to be self-reliant in this field. And there has been also a feeling that, the controls on pricing, though you have talked about competition being introduced very soon, maybe in next 1.5 months, you'll come out with that paper on introducing competition, maybe to start with Mumbai and maybe Delhi. But I think we believe that that is something good that would make people more efficient, and it would ultimately benefit the consumers. And also I would like to say that the price controls, any kind of price control in the long run is not desirable. So the industry has to flourish, and we have to not only cover 72% of the population and 50% of the geography. At the end of the day, we have to cover the entire India. So more and more efforts have to be put in that direction, so that we are able to cover whether we carry out the techno-commercial viability, or maybe more pipelines have to be laid. But going forward, I'm sure that our target would be to cover the entire country. So we have today experts on the subject. We have the regulator, we have the companies which are into city gas distribution, we have the participants from the industry. I think we would like to hear from that. And I conclude here, I stop here, and welcoming you all again to today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your address and setting the tone for today's conference. As our Honorable Prime Minister has, set a vision for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So Atmanirbhar in gas also is extremely important. Until, we are today spending around $100 billion per annum in importing crude oil. So that makes us, that makes our balance of trade unfavorable. So if we really have to produce the gas and make it competitive, the market have to be open. But I'm sure that the government has taken many initiatives in this regard. So since Mr. Mathur will be joining any time, but before that, I would like to invite Mr. A.K. Jana, who has recently taken over as the Managing Director of IGL. Before joining IGL as Managing Director, Mr. Jana was the CEO of GAIL Gas Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of GAIL engaged in business of city gas distribution. Mr. Jana is a graduate in production mechanical engineering has over 3 decades of experience in gas sector. He has vast experience in project execution of construction, commissioning, operation and maintenance of gas processing plant and LNG terminal, rotatory equipment, natural gas and LPG pipelines. So with his vast experience under his leadership, we are sure that IGL will achieve the new heights in our country. So with this, I over to you, Mr. Jana, and very warm welcome to PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry once again.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjit ji, and Honorable Chairman PNGRB, Saraf Saab, President PSD, and distinguished panelists and members, as well as the audience. Now, it has become our routine job to address to discuss or carry out our office through virtual media. A few years back, when we were thinking how gas can go through virtual pipeline, so we have started through virtual pipeline also delivering the gas to different houses. And now everything is becoming virtual. And I hope all of you, as you and including your family members, relatives, everybody in safe during these pandemic situations. And you can believe 15 days back, we had a very bad experience. All of a sudden, though I am in a business of retail sector, 37 employees plus 10 family members, all put together in 3 days. They have reported high fever, and we have gone for testing, and all have been found positive. So around 47. That we could maintain the supply of gas to the individual houses, as well as the CNG pumps, CNG stations, and the industrial commercials. People have started taking the gas. As President said, yes, target is to go from 6.2 to 15% in the energy mix, the share to be shared by the gas. Now, everybody knows that there is a benefit in the natural gas. It is cheaper, eco-friendly, and it will help to reduce the import bill also, to create the self-sufficiency in energy and diversification of source, as well as in the energy basket. Gas can play and being playing a vital role. Now, recently, the Morgan Stanley, they have projected around 10% share in the energy basket by gas would be achieved in 2025. They are based on the demand, rising demand by the CGD sector. If you see today, around 30 million gas is being consumed, would be the second highest sector after fertilizer. City gas distribution is consuming the gas, and with a CAGR of more than 18%, which is a good sign. And the second thing is that, yes, there is a demand, there will be a demand in the fertilizer sector also, which are being renovated and converting into the gas in the eastern part of the country to be connected by the Prime Minister Urja Ganga pipeline. And of course, if you see that the cheap gas price is falling down also, at the same time, people as well as the government, regulatory body, everybody is focusing for creation of the infrastructures. If you see that around say 3 to 5 years back, 70% pipeline were there in the western part and the northern part of the country, and 10 to 20% would be there in the southern part. Balance the northeast. There was no pipeline in the eastern part of the country. Today, government as well as PNGRB, they have given a huge thrust towards the eastern part of the country. And because of that, two major pipelines are coming through Prime Minister Urja Ganga and Indradhanush. They are laying the line so that the entire country would be connected through the national gas grid pipeline. To make the affordability, because today the prices are, the transportation tariff is having zone based. Probably the government as well as the PNGRB, they are working to make the price affordable at each part of the country by bringing uniform price or something. If you see recent this due to COVID, there is a huge impact. In spite of that, I can tell you that in spite of in the peak time of the lockdown, the decline in the gas sector was up to, even we can sustain up to 30%, where in the other sector it has gone to 10%. So that indicates that, there are four sectors in the CGD sector. One is the domestic, second is the CNG, then industrial, commercial. During that time, what we have seen, our consumption in the domestic sector has gone up. It was just because of, now we started propagating, that is that basically it is a contact-free, uninterrupted gas available at your kitchen. So that gives us the very huge thrust with that. And today we have achieved more than 110%. As a IGL, we are achieving more than 110%. And after 3 months, April, May, June, if I see, the domestic consumption has gone 110%, whereas the industrial, we could achieve around 85% to 90%. And the transportation sector, it is around 70%. Commercial, yes, it is not picking up very high. It's around 30%. So because of the restaurant and five-star hotels, and they are closed. And transportation sector, it is definitely 65 to 70%, because the school, colleges, they are not open, and international flights are also not being operated. Because of that, transport sector is not taking up that way. But we are expecting within another, say, Q3 would be coming to the normal level, what we have achieved during the pre-COVID. Now, after this COVID, the behavior of all the stakeholders got totally changed. If I address to this behavior, I have categorized into 4W. 4W, the first one is the work, second was the workplace, third one is the work culture, and then the workforce. You see, the now work is required to be redefined. What we are doing, we are segregating the job into two parts, which can be done online, or which can be, we have to do it physically, we have to be present, and we have to carry out the job. Then the next one is that the workplace. The workplace is to be redefined, whether the entire norms, the social distancing, and whatever the PPs are required, each and every stakeholders and the workers and labor are properly using them. So we have to ensure, we have to redefine our SOPs, how the work is to be carried out. So everything is to be redefined for the workplace also. If you see the workforce, now the workforce is a maid can be paid online, but maid cannot do the work online. So here she has to, or she or he has to go to the workplace. Similarly, the project has to be executed at site, for which I need the migrant labor. Probably we never thought of that. They are the main contributor for any project development. We never paid much attention to this particular sector. And this COVID situation has forced us to think of for them and to create some environment by which they are safe, they can carry out the job. When they would be going to various houses, they should be properly having the PPE, and they should know how it is to be done before starting the job, even after finishing the job. If required, the entire person, what he is doing, wherever he has gone and did the job, for giving the connectivity. So everything has been sanitized by our team. That sort of culture we are trying to inculcate in our testing. The work culture, if you see, the fourth one is the work culture. No, and this is something, the way today we are used to now. After 3 months, we are now used to. Initially, we had a problem for connectivity, and before this meeting, we are discussing about that Zoom, Teams. There are so many platforms are available. So if you see that the man like at our age, say 58, 60 plus, probably they may not be that much experienced. I need to ensure that all the employees in our industry, they are used to use that how the best digitizations infrastructure, digital infrastructure can be utilized to the best possible to that extent. Second thing is that work culture, we are not used to carry out this job. Now, how do I ensure that employees are working online at least for 8 hours with a 6 hour or 1 hour break or so? That is to be ensured unless some, we never put the seat belt on while we are traveling a car. Seat belt for the safety reason, probably we don't do that. It is because of the threat of the punishment, some policeman will punish me. That's why I'm putting the safety belt. But over a period of time, it becomes a culture. Then people, when you sit, they will put the seat belt, at least for the front seat. We are not using even the back seat. So we have to ensure some punishment system also while working on the, I'm talking about the work culture can be created through the online system. That is to be ensured. It has been seen that people are saying that I'm online, where he is, whether he's doing the job. So that sort of things are required to be seen into. The second thing is that, as you said, that Atmanirbhar, yes, city gas sector can contribute a lot for that particular venture. Why I'm saying so, if you see that we are in a mass volume, consumer by say domestic meters, be it domestic meters, regulators, pipes, and fittings, everything is we are consuming a mass volume basically, and it is having the low engineering based product basically. So this can help us a lot to create the Atmanirbhar, and accordingly, and under the directions of the government, we started working with the various vendors also, whether the meter can be manufactured in India or there are many products are there, like your compressors. Around 10,000 compressors are being, CNG stations are being planned in 2027, and with an investment of more than 40,000 crores. So if those components, including your high pressure and 250 bar cylinders are required, so cascades are required. So all the entities, as you say, as President already said, that around 46 entities are working for more than out of the 700 districts in our country. So around 50% geographical area, 70% population has been covered, is going to be covered by after implementation of the 9th and 10th round project. So our challenge would be for CGD sector, this how to come back to the normal business, overcoming this, the problem being faced due to COVID situations. Then there are challenges are there definitely, as you said rightly, suddenly, this 9th and 10th, after this 9th and 10th round bidding by the PNGRB, the demand has come such a huge, be it a steel pipeline, be it a MD pipeline, compressor, or the meters, regulators, and at the same time, and the digitization is another important aspect where we have to look into during this after this COVID situation. Definitely, prior to that, I must thank to this government. They were insisting prior to that. Because of that, around 60-70% more than that infrastructure was available, so that during COVID time also we could, whatever the infrastructure created for the digital systems, we could utilize them properly, and our tendering process, our payment systems, everything was going on during this COVID lockdown and COVID situation also. So coming back to the last one, that is that how I can, the CGD sectors per se, the structure in such a way, we are not competitor to any CGD entities. We have our own area to work. So we, as definitely the ministry as well as the PNGRB, they are creating many platforms wherein all the CGD entities are coming. They are exchanging their difficulties as well as the best practices being followed, which is a good platform, I must tell you. And the second thing is that if we are not today not thinking for connecting the each and every houses, these domestic PNG connections in the name of this contact-free uninterrupted supply gas, and this is going to entirely, they are the customer is going to be their forever with the CGD entities, even after exclusivity period also. Though the LNG has been taken out from anybody can set up in any GAs, this is one side, definitely a threat to the CGD entities. But if I see the other way around, I can also set up LNG CNG stations in some other field also. Today, though, business is not there, but the future for the long haul distributions would be on, in place of diesel, it would be on LNG only, for which we have a plan and we are also aggressively working for that. Then another part is that definitely CBG, government is giving a huge thrust, and we are also working on that. Probably CBG would be another area where we should think on it. And another area, I must tell you that the government has created, including the PNGRB members, everybody, they have gone to different states and they have given this particular sector highest priority to the individual state governments. Now state governments coming aligned with the central government, they have started giving us the permissions. Without that, we won't be able to implement the project. Ultimately, all the projects are to be executed in the states. If the states are not giving us the creating some congruent field, probably we won't be able to achieve that. But with the help of the ministry as well as PNGRB, we are also achieving that. Thank you very much for my patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jana, for your address. And you rightly said that before this, the gas distribution network was totally skewed in favor of western parts of the country, and that was restricting the level playing field for most of the other producers. Now government has focused to create a northeastern grid, which will in fact make the, which will actually create a level playing field for all the producers of different products. So we had Mr. Mathur was busy in his board meeting. Now, before I invite the chief guest of the day, Mr. D.K. Sharaf, I would request Mr. Rajiv Mathur, the chairman of our hydrocarbon committee, to say his industry perspective for today's webinar.
You may unmute him.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mehta Saab. The chief guest for today, our Honorable Chairman of the PNGRB, Saraf Saab, Agarwal Saab, President of PhD Chamber, Secretary General Sanyal Saab, Jana Ji, Managing Director of IGL, Mr. Tibrewal, and all the other guests who are there. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my views here on the city gas distribution business in India. To begin with, I would like to say that the city gas distribution business is one of the fastest growing sectors in the domestic economy of India. And I will quote from a tweet of our Honorable Minister, Shri Dharmendra Pradhan, where he has said that in the last 6 years, the natural gas sector, which per se includes the expansion of CGD network, has seen a tremendous growth in India. From 34 geographical areas and 66 districts in May 2014, the work is in progress to expand the CGD network to 232 geographical areas and 407 districts as of April 2020. And since then, Saraf Saab will tell us many more new districts are going to come on the map very shortly. Now, if we look at the network of CGD entities which are operating, I am told there are about 45, 46 different companies who are operating these networks. There were 34 cities and districts where they were operational in 2014. Now it has gone to 232 cities and 407 districts. So growth is 682%. So by any standard, I think this is one of the fastest growing sectors. If we look at piped gas connections in houses, there were 25 lakh houses which were connected in May 2014. And by April this year, we had over 60 lakhs. And this is, again, statistics say that growth of 238%. And the commitment which is given by the different companies now is over 4 crores, 4 crore households. So in next 5-6 years, it will grow another 5 times. Similarly, if you look at connections for industrial and commercial sector, there were 28,000 commercial entities and industries, small, medium, and large industries which were connected to these networks. By April this year, there were 40,880. Again, a growth of 146%. And the projection is that once all these 407 districts come on board, we will have over 200,000 industrial and commercial establishments using piped gas. Again, growth factor 5 times in next 5-6 years. Then you look at CNG stations, which these entities have put up. There were 938 CNG stations in India. Now there are over 2,400 stations. Again, over 240-50% growth. And the plan is that these companies will set up some 12,000 CNG stations. So again, growth of 5-6 times is projected. Similarly, if you look at CNG vehicles, there were 22 lakh vehicles in 2014 running on CNG. By April 2020, there were 34 lakhs. And again, there was a growth of 153% here. And the projection is it will cross 1 crore. So again, growth of maybe three folds or more is projected in next couple of years. In addition, there is, the government's ambitious plan of coming out with CBG, compressed biogas. 5,000 stations have been planned and announced. And some of them are already up and operational. And these will also add on to these numbers. So all told, I think city gas distribution is one sector which will outgrow all other sectors of the economy by many folds. That is my take. Now, having said that, this industry definitely has a lot of challenges before it is able to achieve those magical numbers and take the gas share in the domestic economy to 15%. So these companies, they require a lot of clearances from different entities, different government authorities, local bodies, etc., which generally, there is no time-bound this thing. If there is some kind of mechanism which limits the time within which these companies get their authorizations, their clearances, their approvals from municipalities, from local governments, then I think rollout will be much more faster. Similarly, they require pieces of land to set up stations, set up city gas stations, setting up of distribution stations, etc. So that land, generally they have to struggle a lot before it is allotted to them and they are able to get ahead with their work. Some, kind of an incentive in terms of, prior authorization of land to these entities, if it is done. For example, smart cities are coming up. There could be a pre-planning of setting up CNG or LNG or else CNG stations and earmarked prior to setting up a layout of that entire city is done. Then the rollout will become much faster. then these entities require a lot of qualified vendors, qualified equipment suppliers. I think there is a need for upgrading the quality of equipment and the manufacturing capability in terms of compressors, in terms of dispensers, in terms of piping, in terms of fitting, in terms of valves, in terms of metering, instrumentation. All these industries will have to pitch in, for these companies to be able to deliver these kind of numbers that are being talked about. Also, they will require a lot of varied skill set of people. So different kind of skill sets are required for if this kind of magnitude of expansion is planned in terms of unskilled manpower, in terms of semi-skilled, in terms of skilled supervisors, engineers, and you name it. So, and operators, service providers, all these people will be required in a big way going forward for this sector to become a success. And they are a big job creator. Therefore, we need ITIs, we need, colleges which come out with courses which are dovetailed to this kind of an industry. Then a new, setup of LCNG or LNG stations is being planned, and green highways are being, considered by the government. So you will need, people who are well versed and trained in cryogenic technology, and setting up of these stations, operation of these stations, maintenance. All these things will require a lot of hand-holding for this industry to become a success. There are other issues also which Mr. Jana has talked about. For example, if we are able to bring the natural gas itself into GST mechanism, then there will be rationalization of taxes, there will be, equal, attractiveness of people to utilize CNG, PNG, and all other fuels in the respective states. There is something called cascading tariff of transportation, which I am sure the regulator is going to address shortly. Then I think the government should be looking at incentivizing these CGD companies for connecting more and more piped gas connections and giving those connections to houses, because it is a win-win for everybody. The government saves on LPG subsidy, customer gets a 24/7 piped gas connection. There is no, if domestic gas, which is becoming available from more new sources at market prices, people will be willing to use that, and therefore encouragement will be there for producing more gas within our country with more revenues and more applications that are there for domestic gas to be produced in a big way. Also, domestic producers and international producers, now that there is an exchange which is coming up, so a free pricing mechanism and a price discovery is likely to happen on the exchange. And then people can, at their choice, determine the supplier, the buyer, the price, the volume that they need. So there are a lot of opportunities also which are there. At the same time, there are challenges before this sector. But I'm sure in the long run, this is going to be one of the most successful sectors as far as the domestic economy is concerned. So I will stop here and thank the PSG Chamber of Commerce for giving me an opportunity to give my perspective. And back to you, Mr. Dr. Mehta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mathur. In fact, let me tell you, during the crisis times, you have given a very optimistic and very encouraging view of the sector. A hopping 682% growth, it really motivates the industry, and there will be huge employment opportunities in the sector for everyone, as you have detailed out. Thank you very much, Mr. Mathur. So before I invite Mr. D.K. Sharaf, just few words, though he does not require any introduction, but I was just looking at the PNGRB website, so I thought I'll read for the benefit of his brief. He's a very lengthy profile, but I'll read very few important things from this. So Shri Dinesh Kumar Sharaf, in fact, he is graduated from Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi, and did his post-graduation from the same university. He is an associate member of Indian Institute of Cost Accountants and of India and Institute of Company Secretaries of India. So same way our president Dr. Agrawal is also a chartered accountant, so the same community. So this is a good thing. So he has more than 3.5 decades of experience in oil and gas industry, which in his long career he has in fact had many important positions. He worked for ONGC Videsh Limited as a Director Finance during February 2005 to December 2007. And Mr. Sharaf played key roles in negotiation of conclusion of significant acquisition transactions in Syria, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Cuba, Egypt, Myanmar. ONGC Videsh experienced significant increase in its activities, production, revenue, profits during that period. Now he also worked as a CFO from 2007 to 2011 as a group CFO of ONGC, and Mr. Sharaf assumed the charge of Managing Director and CEO of ONGC Videsh Limited in September 2011 as MD and CEO ONGC Videsh Limited. He institutionalized many systems and processes. And March 2014 to 17, Mr. Sharaf was the chairman and managing director of ONGC and chairman of the group companies ONGC Videsh Limited, Mangalore Refinery, Petrochemicals Limited, ONGC Petro Additions Limited, ONGC Mangalore Petrochemical Limited, and so many other companies. In fact, there are huge number of companies which he was looking after. He's a member of governing body of CSIR, Council of Scientific Research and Industrial Research, Scientific and Industrial Research. So there's a huge, in fact, profile, huge, big profile of Mr. Sharaf. He was also conferred the honorary Doctor of Philosophy, DPhil degree by the Amity University in 2017, and currently Mr. Sharaf is the chairperson of the PNGRB. So, sir, with this, we thank you very much. Also, now invite you for your address, which people are looking forward to hearing you, sir. Over to you.
Kindly unmute him.
Sir, can you unmute yourself, Mr. Sharaf, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now it is fine.
Yeah. So, thank you very much, Mr. Mehta. And I think I must abridge my profile in the PNGRB website itself, so that we can devote more time on more
Yes, sir.
discussion.
Yeah.
And thank you, PSG Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for having me here. And we have a very learned, experienced industry panel like Mr. Rajiv Mathur, Mr. Jaina. And these are the people, I mean, who are working day in, day out in development of gas sector. And we, from the regulatory side, from the government side, we provide support wherever it is required. So, but these are the people, I mean, who really, I mean, work for development of the sector. Really hats off to them. And very, very good morning to everybody here, Dr. D.K. Agrawal. And I'm glad to know that you're also a professional from the same profession. Though finance I have left behind so many years back, and now I'm a oil and gas person, or a tele, as you can say. So now coming to the subject straight away, very rightly said by the previous speakers, we have only 6% as gas share. Globally, it is 24%. We need to increase it. Government has put a ceiling, target of 15%. But why do we talk of more and more gas? That's the question which we need to understand so that we can really work towards it. And the reason is that it is much more environment friendly, lesser emission of CO2, and our Prime Minister, he himself had committed in November 2015 in the COP Paris Convention that the carbon emission intensity would reduce by 33% to 35% by the year 2030. So, and the gas industry can play a very important role in that. And also important, and from Indian mentality point of view, even more important is the cost part, because we are very cost conscious, and we should be. Just, I mean, I would put certain facts before you so that you can really appreciate it. There is a product which is called natural gas, and lot of this is produced in US, and it is traded in an exchange, and it's called Henry Hub. And this is converted into LNG for the purpose of transportation, and this comes here. From Henry Hub to LNG in India, there is a lot of value addition just for the sake of transportation. The value addition is, first of all, liquefaction, which takes at least $4, including the energy loss in the conversion. Then transportation, which is another 50 cents to $1 wherever. So today, Henry Hub gas price is $1.8, and the on the spot market, the LNG price which is available is $2.2. So just 40 cents gap, whereas the gap even on cost basis should have been at least $4 to $5, at least $5. So that gap has almost vanished. So this is the industry which we are talking. This is the opportunity which we have in India of consuming more and more gas. Now, coming to the domestic part of it, liquid versus gas. Today we know that 1 liter of diesel which we purchase, or petrol which we purchase, we pay about 80 rupees or so. And out of that 80 rupees, about 40 rupees goes to the different governments, be it state government, be it central government, towards excise duty, towards VAT, and so many things. Now, there is an arbitrage available, and arbitrage is a very attractive word to the business people. And the moment they say arbitrate, they simply jump upon this. There could be price difference between two stock exchanges, and then there are softwares available, there are people available who will buy from one and sell in another. Now there is a huge arbitrage, tax arbitrage available. I mean, the total tax on liquid fuel is as high as 50%. On natural gas, it could be, I think Mr. Mathur or Mr. Jana can tell more accurately, but it could be about 25% if we add everything. So why don't we avail this arbitrage? So this is tax arbitrage. I talked about the gap between Henry Hub and LNG price, which should have been there, has totally or almost disappeared. And there is third element, the ratio of gas price to oil price. And that this ratio has been, in fact, we believe about 20 years back that this ratio, this gap would vanish because both are energy. This was the belief about 20 years back. And we have been proven to be totally wrong because these two markets are totally independent. And this gas gap is increasing. Gas is becoming more and more cheaper. The oil is also becoming more and more cheaper, but the fall in prices in gas is much more, and it is likely that the fall would be, this gap would increase. this gap would increase. And this is based on demand, supply, new exploration reserves, and so on. So this again is an opportunity for arbitrage. So we as business people should arbitrage as major consumer of fuel in our industry. So this is one message which I wanted to give you to all of you through this forum. Now, today the price of gas is $2.50 if we talk of domestic gas, and if we talk of so-called difficult domestic gas, it is about $5.50. And this is the time, perhaps the government, I don't know what the government is thinking, but this is the time when the government should also deregulate the price. I think Mr. Agarwal mentioned about the less and less control. So I think this is the time, because whenever the prices are decontrolled by the government, the biggest fear the government has that after deregulation, the prices may go up. And the government may get bad name. But today the prices of gas are so low that even if it goes up, nobody would know, and government would have very smooth deregulation of gas price and gas allocation both. So this is when I am saying is maybe that the government is also thinking on the same lines, but I do not know on that. So this is one thing I wanted to say. Now, saying is one thing, but what is being done to have more and more gas consumption? Gas is something which you can't just switch from liquid to gas or from coal to gas, etc. It requires huge infrastructure. It requires huge infrastructure in terms of import, which is LNG. It requires huge infrastructure in terms of transportation from the production place or from the import place to the place where the gas is required, and also the last mile connectivity, which Mr. Jena and Mr. Mathur talked, which is CGD. So all this infrastructure is required. I will take very briefly that what is being done in respect of each of these pieces of infrastructure. If we talk of natural gas pipelines, which is a subject directly dealt with by PNGRB. Today, as was told, that we have 17,000 operational kilometers of pipeline, and 15,500 kilometers is under construction. Out of this, more than 8,000 kilometers of pipeline has been authorized in the last 2-3 years only. So this is something, the speed at which work is being done, and this includes the pipelines at places where there was no earlier pipelines, like Urja Ganga, which covers eastern UP, which covers Bihar, which covers Odisha, Jharkhand, and West Bengal also, and it has now been extended up to Guwahati, the northeast. So this pipeline. Now, the reference was made of the northeast grid, which covers all the 8 districts of northeast, including Sikkim, and both these projects are going to be even financially supported by the government. Mumbai-Nagpur Jharsuguda pipeline. Jharsuguda is a place in Odisha. So that has been awarded. Sirkakulam, Angul, and so many other pipelines. And so many other pipelines are in the different phases of award also. Award is one thing, and then working on the ground on pipelines is another. I'm happy to say that at least 3 pipelines on which work was slow earlier, I mean, it has caught up. One is Gales pipeline, which goes from Kochi to Mangalore. So this pipeline is going to be completed any time, and because of which Kochi terminal, import terminal, would be utilized, as well as the city of Mangalore, Mangalore refinery, so many other fertilizer units, etc., would be, I mean, gasified. Mehsana Bhatinda pipeline of Gujarat entity, GSPL, which is going through various states, is going to be complete. And no Tuticorin pipeline of IOC. So these are the pipelines which are on which active work is going on. On LNG terminals, increasing capacity of the Hayes terminal, Kochi now would be able to, we will be able to effectively utilize. Mundra and Ennore are already completed recently, and 4 or 5 new terminals like Chhara, Jafrabad, Jaigarh, Dhamra, Kakinada, they are at also different stages of completion. So this is on CGD. This is on LNG. Now coming to CGD, already references have been made, so I will not elaborate that. But just for complete sake of completeness, 3 years back it was just 17%. Population was covered by CGD networks. Today it is 71%. So from 17% to 71% in just 2.5 years, the area-wise from 11% to 53%. Number of CNG stations would be would increase many fold. It would become 10 to 12,000 stations in next 7 years. Like PNG customers also could be about 4 to 5 crores. Today it is only 66 lakh. So and who has made this commitment? The industry has made the commitment, and industry is very serious, very proactive in achieving these things. And all the big and small companies are working towards it. And we have been able to connect many new investors into this also, including some of the foreign investors. So this is on CGD. Now coming to the most important part is which is policy reforms. Mr. Rajiv Mathur made a mention, Mr. Agarwal also made a mention earlier. One of the problems which we face today is cascading tariff. Meaning thereby, if the gas has to travel through several pipelines throughout the country, the customer has to pay the tariff for each of the pipeline. And by the time it reaches the destination, the total cost of gas becomes cost prohibitive, and people are not able to convert to natural gas. So that's the problem which is being faced. So now PNGRB has already made a draft regulation, and we have posted it for the comments of the stakeholders, whereby the tariff of the different pipelines could be unified. Like if there are 5 pipelines of GAIL through which the gas is flowing, so the customer would need to pay only one single tariff. And we have seen that for most of the customers, the tariff would either reduce or it would not increase significantly. So this is one reform which we are thinking. Just a caveat that we have kept as per the present regulations that it would be pipelines of a same entity, because there were some legal hurdles in making it across entities. So maybe in the next phase we would resolve those hurdles and make it multiple entities as well. Second problem was that the more and more investments need to be attracted in the pipelines. So for that, the new investment model of the pipeline authorization are being studied. We have taken some consultants also, and we should be able to make improvements in our existing authorization model within next few months. So that is second. Third, very important reform which is going to be there is the introduction of exchange. So if a gas trading exchange is there, it would mean that the confidence of the gas consumer, gas importer, gas producer, everybody would increase towards gas as a commodity, because he would be ensured of a fair price of gas, both from the point of view of a supplier as well as the consumer. So that would come. And we have already posted the regulations for the gas exchange on 10th of July, because we received the government approval on 1st of July, and immediately thereafter we have finalized the regulations and posted them. And by mid of August, we not mid of August, by end of August, we think that we should be able to finalize these regulations. And then the process of formation of a formal natural gas exchange, trading exchange would kick in. Now, gas exchange is one thing, but coupled with gas exchange, there are many other reforms which would be there because gas exchange will be there. And some of the reforms are more transparent, more free access to the natural gas pipelines. Though I don't believe it that we will get face difficulty, but customers do report that they face difficulty in getting access to the pipelines. So those problems also would be resolved, because the system would be much more transparent in getting access to the pipeline. In fact, we are thinking of having a online real-time bulletin board, which would show that which pipeline has got how much capacity, and people would be able to trade for gas only if between their source to their destination there is capacity in the pipeline. So that's why we would require an online system to know the capacity in the pipeline. So that also is going to be there. There would be a uniform GTA, which is gas transmission agreement. So people need not spend their valuable time on negotiating the gas transmission agreement, which would be standardized. So all these reforms would come along with the gas exchange, and in next few months we think that there will be a formal gas exchange in position. Another thing which has already been done is LNG station, because for example in China, more than 400,000, 4 lakh heavy duty trucks, they are plying directly on LNG, not on CNG, not on diesel. So, and they are saving huge amount of fuel costs. So this has been implemented, and since we thought that it's not a part of CGD distribution network, so anybody can install these LNG stations anywhere in the country, and I think this sector also would prosper, which would give additional business to the fuel companies. So this is a major thing to be watched. The competition was also talked about, that there needs to be competition and protection of consumer interest. So the CGD networks would have a common carrier access, meaning thereby the competition would be there, which means deeper penetration of the in the gas markets in different CGD areas would be enabled. So competition would be there, because of which the consumers' interest would be protected. There would be a price check ensured by the market, as well as, since the market size would increase, the CGD companies would also not lose, they would tend to gain only. So these are the things which are being done. 11th round of CGD, we are thinking that we would wait for a couple of more weeks before we announce it, because we would allow the CGD companies to consolidate for the time being, and we would wait for 11th round for a couple of more weeks. GST reference was made. GST is something which government has been thinking very seriously. I do not know when it would come, or rather whether it would come, but the Ministry of Petroleum, Minister himself is very much in favor of it, but things are not entirely in the hands of the government, because it goes to the GST Council, where the representatives of different state governments also are represented. So, but definitely it is one of the items in the active agenda of the government. So, the new challenges have been thrown because of the COVID in the CGD industry, but I think the industry is quite vibrant, quite capable of handling all these challenges. One thing I would like to particularly mention, which applies not only to the CGD industry, but to all the industries in general, and since a cross section of industry people are sitting here, so that could be relevant, is we have a lot of people, workforce which are migrant. And these people, they come here, go back to their own villages, thousands of miles and kilometers away, again come back, so that this process goes on. Unless these migrant people have confidence that there is somebody to take care of them at their workplace, at their workstations, we would not be able to get them back. So, and once they are back, in any case, they would be back sooner or later. But once they are back, and God forbid if such situation comes again, I think during this period, we should, as industry leaders, we should create more confidence among them in terms of their living, in terms of their other needs, so that before going back in emergency, they have to think twice, because they think that there is somebody even in Delhi or big cities to take care of them. So these are the points which I wanted to say. Maybe that I made certain notes, but they were happy. So I think I have covered most of my points. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your address. As always, you always have something new to say, and that means a lot of work is happening at the backdrop. And thank you indeed for addressing most of the issues that were raised by the President of PhD Chamber, Dr. D.K. Agrawal. So we have few questions with us. So first question I would like to read is Sakya Chaudhary. It says the implementation of CGD across India under 9th and 10th round is dependent on the availability of common career across the length and breadth of the country, which is not presently not in a position right now. When do you think are these pipelines going to be ready, which you have partly already answered? So would you like to make a comment on this, or anybody? So you have to unmute Mr. Sharaf. If you can unmute.
I have unmuted. So this is something which I always forget.
Yeah.
So there are two parts of this question. One is when the common carrier would be, access would be available, which I already addressed. And this access is already there, but people have less confidence. For them, the exchange is coming, and with the exchange, more stringent access would be available. So this is one part. Second part is in some of the CGD areas, the pipeline itself is not there. So those pipelines are coming. For example, I talked about Kochi to Mangalore pipeline, and all the districts north of, the Kerala, all the coastal districts of Kerala, north of Kochi, up to just before Mangalore, all these would be gasified within next few weeks or even earlier. So new pipelines are coming. Some of the because we have also allowed during this round that if the pipeline is not there, then the CGD operator can bring in LNG from elsewhere and start its operation, so that at least the CNG stations can be started, even PNG supply can be started. There could be a campaign on getting more and more PNG customers. So all that can start. And some of these companies, they are very actively working on that, which Mr. Jaina also called in the beginning as virtual pipeline. So some of the companies are working on the concept of virtual pipeline. For example, if you take the case of GAIL Gas, which Mr. Jaina earlier till recently headed, they are bringing natural gas all the way from Hajira to Bhubaneswar. To Bhubaneswar. So it is a virtual pipeline. But within a reasonable distance, it may not be very much economical. But within a reasonable distance of 400-500 kilometers, this is being done. I can also tell you one thing very transparently. Some of these years, for example, in Tamil Nadu, we awarded during 10th round, knowing fully well the pipelines are not there because of two reasons. One reason was the virtual pipeline, and second reason was that there is something very negative for the pipelines in Tamil Nadu, just to put a pressure on the state government also to have the pipelines constructed. Because if GA is awarded, pipeline is there on the drawing board and it is not coming, because of the state government policies. So the state government also would go into public pressure. So don't worry, Mr. Chaudhary. So wherever pipelines are not there, the pipelines would come soon. People are already on the job, and until then, virtual pipelines can also be resorted upon.
Okay, thank you. Now, second question is in terms of gas production or deposits that we have, what will be the contribution of such domestic production CGD in future? What will be the contribution of imported gas? How do you see this impact the price of gas supplied by CGD operators? So,
You see, I can address this question in multiple ways. So, and one of the ways is that sooner or later, the prices are going to be deregulated. It could be now, it could be 1 year after, it could be 2 years after. And when we talk of 1 year, 2 years, it's a very minuscule time when we are talking of the history of the industry. So whether this gas is domestic or this gas is imported, it hardly matters. And India being less prospective so far as the hydrocarbons is concerned, is going to be more and more dependent on imports. Though various efforts are being done by ONGC, by different upstream companies in increasing the production, but the consumption would grow more rapidly than since today we are importing about 50% of natural gas as LNG. I think this 50% would even be more in the times to come, because gas consumption is increasing many times than the gas production is increasing.
okay. Right, so thank you. So now we have a question from Anil Mehta, Principal Public Policy, Secure Meters. All the panelists, in fact, indicated the rapid growth of CGD in India. But as any change, CGD will have a common challenge of consumer acceptance. One impediment is less control over the budgeting, the gas, and also pricing of the piped gas. What Mr. Mathur and Mr. Jana think of prepaid metering in gas that will help to reduce the capital cost of CGDs. Also, what are the views of Mr. Sharaf on prepaid metering from regulatory purview, as it will help consumer to control their budget and pay less. As you have, everybody has indicated sharp increase on consumers of gas from 65 lakh to 5 crores in next few years. I think this is a very pertinent question. So over to you all, Mr. Mathur, Mr. Jana, and Mr. Shira.
Mathur, you say first.
Regarding, yeah, sir.
Jana साहब आप बोलिए.
Regarding smart meter, you know, GAIL Gas in the country first introduced the smart meter in Bengaluru. Around more than 1 lakh meters have been installed in Bengaluru. The cost was what you are saying, that the cost will reduce. It is a basically higher side rather than it is reducing. It will increase the cost of this pipe connections. The cost of normal meter, what presently we are using around today, it is available around 800 to 900 rupees per meter. Whereas the smart meter, when we have installed, that time it was 4,000 rupees per meter, and that is smart meter only, which will tell us the what is the consumption pattern, you know. And there was no two-way communications, the one-way communications. Only the meter will tell you that this is the consumption pattern of this particular date. This much gas has been consumed. Based on that, we are supposed to raise the bill to the individual houses. So that smart meter, now we are existing meter, whatever the manual meter is are there, we are adding AMR, which will convert into a smart meter, so we can start getting the reading directly to our server. The concept of prepaid meter, we have started in one of our GA. That is costing around more than 5,000 rupees. No, the cost, or say, if you see the domestic business, there is no much business on that. Each connections with the normal meter, it is costing us around 25,000 to 30,000, 20,000 to 30,000. Average cost is around 25,000 rupees per houses. And since we have to compete with the subsidized LPG, so I have to have the price in such a way that people are attracted to take the gas in the prima facie. The costing is that we don't get much, what should I say, 1 rupee you can say per SCM. The consumption margin is there. The consumption, if you see that, if every house is consuming around 0.4, 0.5, so if you multiply them, 0.4 into 30 into 12, it will be around 144 rupees. So the total investment is 25,000. The average investment is 25,000 with the normal meter. If you divide that by 200, it is more than 200 years. The recovery is like that. Basically, we don't get much business through this. It is a, you can say, it is a some sort of CSR activities. But in spite of that, we are thinking to go for the in certain GAs prepaid meter. Initially, when we started that Bengaluru, it was costing 4,000. It has come down to 2,800 now, so less than 3,000. So once the market is growing and the technology is available with us, probably the cost will come down, and definitely the other cost like your going and collecting the reading, then raising the bill, sending them, I have an associated cost. That will save once we go for this prepaid meter, then it will save us. And second part is that what you are saying, that definitely will be approaching to PNGRB, whether it is, you see, prepaid, definitely he has to make the payment in advance. But regarding payment security, that we are taking around 1,000 rupees, somewhere 500, somewhere 1,000 rupees we are taking as a payment security. So that particular aspect has been considered. Probably we may not take that payment security if the prepaid meter is installed. Wherever prepaid meter is installed, will not be taking the payment security.
President Delhi.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you call me? I'm on a web.
Dr. Mehta, I would also like to say something on this.
Sir.
And my take on this would be little different. Not little different, entirely different, rather.
Yes, sir.
And this is something which is capex versus opex. I mean, one is the existing business of CGD. I'm not commenting on whether it is profitable, less profitable, more profitable, loss making, CSR, etc., or whatever it is. It's a business. Now, adding on that business is prepaid meter. Now, prepaid meter would cost something delta, which could be 5,000 versus 800 or 4,000 versus 800. And when you multiply the numbers, the cost would come down. So the capex would increase. Now this capex has to be recovered by reduction in opex and also in more facilities. A point was made: contactless delivery of gas. Now in our houses we consume electricity. We never see an electricity wala. We have water consumption, we never see nothing. But we see when we talk of LPG, we see that LPG delivery, cylinder delivery boy every month. So which is not there in PNG, but there is somebody else is there, and that somebody else is the meter reader, and this meter reader comes directly in the house through and sometimes crosses the kitchen also, and our kitchens etc. shoes may not be allowed many times. So I mean this there is a value attached to it. And then for example this IGL general servicing. So I get as a customer messages that you convert yourself into self I mean metering system etc. Go to my app and I would pay you 20 rupees. So that means IGL is spending 20 rupees in the for the meter reader. Which job can be done by the consumer himself, and the IGL is happy as well as the consumer is happy. Now going forward one step, if it is prepaid meter, then we have prepaid or postpaid mobile. How much the mobile company is spending on billing? Hardly negligible amount. So the amount which is spending, and if it is prepaid meter, then how much working capital would be saved? So instead of there is a billing of 2 months cycle and 1 month period for the purpose of payment versus at least 1 month in advance. So how much working capital would be saved? Interest on that. So one needs to think on all this. And what we have done as a regulator is like this. We said that you give an option to the customer whether he wants to migrate to the prepaid meter or not. And if he wants to migrate to the prepaid meter, then we can allow the CGD companies to recover as a security deposit the additional cost of the meter, which could be up to 5,000 rupees. And we have asked the industry to give their views. The industry is divided. It is rather, I would say, the private companies versus the PSU CGD companies. So we would get all these views, and then we would decide. Our mindset in this decision making would be enabling the industry, facilitating the industry, and not becoming a roadblock in the decision making. But I think it's a progressive thing, and we need to go to the next level of technology.
I'll just add that in Mumbai, for commercial customers, we did this prepaid metering. It was quite successful. And for rogue customers, those who don't pay up, PNG customers, we installed prepaid meters just to ensure that, bad debts don't increase.
I agree with you. There are completely, different views. Mr. Sharaf, Mr. Jana, and also Mr. Mathur has also given his views. Well, I think that this is about the convenience to the customer. And it has been noticed that wherever prepaid meters are there, whether it is in electricity or anywhere, I think the consumer is more sensitive about the expenses. So that way, maybe it may reduce some expenses, but there are initial expenses, initial investments. But again, there is a convenience for the customer in this. So we leave it there. So another question there, Mr. Mathur, is like, as you have said, there'll be requirement of so many people for skilled workers once this sector is growing at a hopping rate of around 628%. So now, in this case, what kind of, in fact, steps that we have taken as an industry to have the skill sets for these different workers who are, required for these sectors? This is the question from Sakya Chaudhary. Mathur Sahab, if you are answering, then isme you're on.
The point is, you see, each company is doing its efforts to get the skilled manpower. As a collective, I don't think there is anything which has been done. So it's for the industry participants to get together and decide the roadmap collectively and see if something can be done, and then work on that, going forward.
But let me tell you, there is also National Skill Mission, and there are many skill sector councils. They are also working on this, as you know, Mr.
So there is a Hydrocarbon Skill Development Council.
Yeah.
They have already got 5 centers where they have got 18 or 19 packages for skill development in various activities like plumbing, welding, and the host of others which are required for the CGD sector. So anybody can pick up those packs, go to one of these institutions and get trained.
Yeah.
So that those provisions are already there.
Okay, good. So one more question from Sakya Chaudhary is, how important is it now to unbundle entities like GAIL to separate the careers and content aspect to avoid conflict of interest? So this question is about career and content to be separated.
Mr. Mathur, you would reply this, I think that's better.
Sir, it is a matter of perception. If they go on the bulletin board, they can see how much common carrier capacity is available. They are free to book it and then take their product wherever they want.
Absolutely. As I said in the beginning, that it's more a perception. I think GAIL can also do something in clarifying to the customers and demonstrating to them that capacity is available. In fact, if they purchase more and more capacity, GAIL is in any case gainer.
We will be very happy, sir, to transport more and more gas.
Okay. Thank you. So the question is for Mr. Sharaf by Salil Gupta. He says that in case a CGD consumer wants to buy gas on gas exchange, will he require NOC? If yes, then how can the regulator ensure such NOC will be given to the consumer?
You see, in the beginning, I mean, first of all, let's talk of a CGD network which is still in marketing exclusivity period, which is which used to be earlier 5 years, now in the current 9th and 10th round, which is 8 years. So for these, wherever the marketing exclusivity is still in place, the CGD company have the exclusive right to market gas, even to the industry and commercial entities also, up to 50,000 cubic meter per day. And beyond that, one can buy in the exchange. But if marketing exclusivity is over, one can buy the gas from exchange, or there could be, I mean, competing entities also. So it really depends that how much is the consumption and whether the marketing exclusivity period is over or not.
Okay. So, right. So I don't know, there was a reference, sir, there's an anonymous question. What steps being taken to increase demand of LNG in trucks? Though we had also done some program around few days before. So, sir, if you'd like to make a comment on this, are there any steps being taken to increase the demand of LNG?
I think industry can tell this more confidently, because they are the people who directly work on this. Mathur Saab, I think you would have some information on this.
Sir, as you said, in China, there are 400,000 trucks which are working on LNG and it's quite successful. So technology is available. Some industry players are working along with Tata and Ashok Leyland, etc., to have these LNG fuel trucks operational. And there is a plan on green corridors to set up some 160 LNG stations. Government has already identified the location and different companies are working on that. And once they set up these stations, the regulator has already allowed anybody to set up these stations. They can get LNG from a LNG terminal, transport it to that LNG station, and do refilling of LNG trucks and buses going forward. So this is a doable program going forward. Anybody interested can come and set up a station.
So there are just 2-3 questions I'll read, sir. I'll read it together. One is Twish Misra here from Business Line. He writes that are existing gas exchanges covered by the proposed rules, or will it be a new entity? Question number one. Then there is Bhavesh Vani. She has written question to Jana sir and Mathu sir. I would request if both can share. PNGRB has recently come up with refundable security deposit option from CGD perspective. Which option is suitable? Option 1, 2, 3. And then Sudipta Das from SSB Energy, she says that what is the prospect of LNG filling stations in India? So these are some of the questions that we have. Yeah, anybody would like to?
Yeah, let me, the first question.
What are the options he has said?
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Jana, go ahead.
So what are the options he has said? You were saying 1, 2, 3 options.
Yeah, options he has written. He wants to say that would you like to give any option 1, 2, 3? I think that he means that only to me. He says that the PNGRB has recently come up with refundable security deposit option. From CGD perspective, which option is suitable? I don't know. He has written 1, 2, 3, whether the question is complete or not. This is what he has written.
So there must have been some options given by the regulator.
No, he has not given any option.
No, he has not given, but there must be some options. And
yes.
He's asking which option seems to be more suitable.
Yeah.
I think Sarab Sahab can comment on that.
The option, there's no option available. I mean, it's a draft regulation. It's a draft regulation. And because today the security is 5,000, and there was an industry demand that that if the prepaid meters are to be brought into regime, then they can't work within 5,000, and they would like to have more of the security deposit, which should be allowed. So we gave different options that the regulations can be either in Form A, Form B, or Form C. And we said that we asked the CGD industry or even all the stakeholders that which option you prefer. Which option you prefer. So these are the 3 options of law to be made. And once the law is made, then it would come as a regulation, and then that would be the only option available.
So the question is, which option would you like to suggest to the PNGRB?
I think if
Mr. Jana,
which are the options?
Mr. Jana has to suggest.
If Mr. Jana remembers that, I don't know.
No
comments, sir, as far as I am concerned.
Okay.
See, as per existing regulations, I am supposed to take the security deposit up to 5,000. Okay, and it is refundable. Whenever he is asking for disconnections, I am supposed to return back the 5,000 rupees. That is the regulation says. With that, we are facing problem vis-a-vis giving the connections vis-a-vis the LPG. LPG, they get 2 cylinders at 3,000 rupees. So everybody is having, and today the OMCs have a beautiful system, so they don't require to wait, or even the SMS also, they can get the cylinder delivered at any time. So looking into that, all the entities, they have a different marketing promotion scheme. Like the last time what I did in GAIL Gas, I have gone for 1 rupee per day as a rent, non-refundable 1 rupee per day rent. I am not taking the security deposit. I am saying 1 rupee per day rent for throughout the life, non-refundable. And again, we have kept another options, 5 rupees per day security deposit, which is refundable for 1,000 days. So I'm getting 5,000 rupees. So 1,000 days they can go on giving us. Then I have another option also. Apart from 5,000, I have another options. The moment I am giving the gas, firing the burner in his house, if he can give me upfront security deposit, I'm okay with 4,000 rupees because it is up to 5,000 to 4,000 rupees. With those scheme, we could get a good, huge number of response, and we could meet the target what has been given by the government to achieving the target of 1 crore domestic connections. So this is one part. Then the smart meter, this is a new regulation. What it is coming up is basically, and as Sarab said also, that over and above whatever infrastructure we are laying, so a prepaid meter. Now it would be choice of that customer if he feels that the prepaid meter is convenient for him. So for which he has to make a upfront payment, security deposit, you can take it that way also. So whenever they are going for disconnections, definitely that can be refunded additional security deposit. That is the thing basically we are talking about. So it will be depending on the entity, what they are saying, what their promotion scheme they are bringing to get more house get connected.
Okay. Thank you. Well, last question. Sir, would you like to make any point? I'll just say the last question. It says, in fact, it is for Mr. Sharaf. It says, do you see any opposition from CGD companies against the proposed open access regulation?
I mean, if I have to tell honestly, yes, there would be an opposition. But I would also like to say that that opposition is not founded on, I mean, it is misfounded because if the open access is there, the penetration in the gas market would be deeper. More customers would be connected to gas, both in the PNG, even commercial industry, as well as more number of vehicles. So the market size would increase. Once the size of the cake increases, then it has to be shared between different entities. The CGD companies themselves have made so much of infrastructure. They are connected to so many customers. So they are likely to be in an advantageous position, even for the so long as the incremental customers are concerned. Some customers they would lose to the competitors also, but they would gain, I mean, many new customers also, which would have never come into the fold of gas. So they have to win also. So, but the thinking process in the CGD companies could be different also. And I don't blame that. Now you just see the car markets. In the 80s, we used to see only Ambassador and Fiat, or Padmani, we used to call it that time. And Maruti came, and Maruti captured so much of market. And as the competition has come and hundreds of new models and new manufacturers have come, but the sale of Maruti has ever increased only year by year, because the market size has also increased. So same is likely to be with the gas companies also. But in the whole process, who would gain? Not only the gas companies, but the consumer is likely to gain.
Thank you very much, sir. We thank all our participants. In fact, you have answered all the questions. If at all anybody has any more question, you can write to Ankita Gupta, who will be in touch with you, and we will send the particular question to the dignitary and to the respective dignitary, and you will get the answers for that. So with now I invite Mr. Pawan Tibrawala, who is the co-chairman of our Hydrocarbon Committee, to give a formal vote of thanks to our very distinguished panel here.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a very good seminar, very exhaustive, and the mix was extremely good. I, being from the oil and gas line, I lay pipelines for all the companies, including the CGD. Mr. Saraf, the senior most, gave us an overall futuristic perspective of the entire industry, and with his experience, we should take his word as wise words. Mr. Mathur is a hands-on person and he gave us a very good lay of the land on this account. Mr. Jana, congratulations to you for MD of IGL, and you gave us an actual contractor's view as to the problems which is faced to execute these projects. I thank all of you all, including my colleagues, the President, the Secretary General, and next time over, whenever we have a seminar on oil and gas, I think we should touch on CBM also. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for spending your time. Thank you, Jana sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saraf Saab.
Thank you,
Jana
thank you,
ji.
Mr. Sharaf. Thank you, Mr. Mathur.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for
you.
being here.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank you.
All the participants, you can send your question to Ankita. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.